Hey everyone. So in 2023, P and I had the opportunity of traveling to Peru. And for those of you that do know me, you know that it was also a huge dream of mine. I've always wanted to go to Machu Picchu. So on this trip, we were pretty much able to go to all the cities that we had in mind. And that included Lima, which is the capital, Cusco, Calientes, Huaraz, and a couple of other smaller cities as well. So our trip begins in Guarulhos, São Paulo, and a huge highlight that we had on this trip was that we actually used our credit card benefits, so that really helped us because we were able to rest. They have, shower heads where you can, take a shower, get ready and everything, and we were still planning, the trip ahead. We were getting a couple of other plane tickets ready. We were buying bus tickets, so that's really good. It's to have everything prepared and making sure that you have a decent itinerary, because you're going to be walking a lot, and also the logistics in Peru don't always help. So the more things you can get ready and make sure you plan for will definitely make this trip easier, lighter, and you're going to enjoy it much more. So as the plane crosses the sky over South America, I can help imagine the wonders waiting for me in Lima, the capital in one of the most vibrant coastal cities on the continent. A city known as La Ciudad de los Reyes, the City of Kings, which was actually founded by the Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro in 1535. Lima isn't just a getaway to Machu Picchu, it's actually a destination with its own powerful story. So around Lima, we were able to go around the cities. It was actually pretty militarized, so we didn't have any problems with, safety or anything. However, talking to local peoples, most of them did tell us that roaming on the outskirts wouldn't be a good idea. Apart from that, it was great. I didn't have any problems at all. And of course, speaking Spanish will definitely help you. We had maybe, very few people actually that spoke English, or that felt comfortable actually speaking to us. And usually most of the time I would just approach people speaking Spanish since I knew it, and it was much easier. And also if you're Brazilian, speaking Spanish, Portuñol, as we say, will definitely help you around. Peruvians are really nice and kind people. And also because tourism is such a big part of their, economy and their base for key cities, they'll definitely treat you very well. Yeah, and walking around Lima was just fantastic. It's considered another historical center and also a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So the churches that we see around, they have Baroque atmosphere and also architecture, which is fantastic. And on this trip, guys, I can't, enforce enough that you should really bring along, good walking boots or shoes. I would recommend boots, especially if they're waterproof and things like that, because that's going to help you a lot, as you're going to see different terrains and different weathers, and many times on the same day as well. Especially when you do the hikes, as Laguna 69 is I'm going to show along the way and everything else. So yeah, dress lightly and also keep a good pair of boots on you, because that's going to be really important. And on this part of the trip, Bia had the opportunity of having her fate read, which was actually really interesting. I did it as well, and this lady, she's actually from Bolivia, and she does it with coke leaves. When we were in Bolivia, we actually had the chance to go to the local museum, and they talk a little bit about reading, culture, and how it works. So it's really interesting. So basically, it connects on what size leaves fall and where they're more oriented towards, and she throws it up a bunch of times, and according to her faith and to what she prays in, and the connection with you, it pretty much shows what the answers actually give you and everything. It was pretty interesting, and if you believe in this, or if you like these kinds of experiences, I definitely recommend you go. It was pretty cheap. I think we were able to negotiate, which is actually something that everyone should keep in mind, and that's where having knowledge in the language that you're traveling in helps, because pretty much everything in Peru is negotiable. Coming back to the churches, walking into them is really a unique experience. Everyone talks about Europe and everything, but in Peru you have amazing churches with a lot of history, and usually there's like a brief story about the church itself, or you can easily look it up online as well. And the historic heartbeat inside of Lima specifically is just fantastic. There are tons of really beautiful architectural designs, and it really tells the story of history itself, everything that happened through Peru's culture, and actually how its culture was developed through its history with Spain. Just through walking through Peru and Lima specifically, it really seems like you're going through a museum. Just how beautiful it is through all of its architecture and all of the landscape itself. Another thing that you have to really value and take into mind when traveling to Peru is the food. It is absolutely fantastic. We were a bit scared in the beginning because a lot of the main dishes and everything, they rely heavily on corn. First of all, the corn or maize in Peru is actually a bit different than the one that we have in Brazil specifically. And so Bia actually is someone that doesn't like corn, and she actually ate a lot of it in Peru. So they have different drinks such as pisco sour, which basically comes from pisco. And I actually recorded this video because a student of mine that had gone told me about it and said it was fantastic. So as soon as I found it at the supermarket, I decided to make a quick video.
Juliana, obrigado pela indicação. Vamos ver se é bom mesmo. Diz todo mundo que é, inclusive. Tá difícil de abrir.
And so, speaking of supermarkets, we actually made a stop by the supermarket to see, different varieties and things. And I constantly tell people, whenever you travel, visit a supermarket. It's interesting to see the different varieties of things that, both the country has and also what they get from other countries abroad, from imports and everything. And keep in mind that ceviche is actually a plate that comes from Peru. So in Peru, you'll find really fresh fish, especially because they'll be fishing it from their own coast. After that, we made our way to the beach, which is actually interesting because the beach in Lima actually has stones instead of sand, which is more common on Brazilian beaches and everything. In the upcoming day, we were going to make our way up to Huaraz because that was another place on our list to see Laguna 69. And while in Peru, or pretty much anywhere else that you're traveling to, guys, make sure that you're on time, because logistics, like I said before, it isn't as easy, and you'll definitely end up getting in trouble or missing something if you don't plan ahead and make it on time. We headed our way to Huaraz, which is basically the home to Laguna 69 and also many other lagoons that are out there. And it is really, really beautiful. The striking turquoise glacial lake situated at 4,600 meters above sea level in Huascarán National Park, the Ancash region of Peru, is renowned for its vivid blue waters and dramatic mountain backdrop. And trust me, it really is that beautiful, if not even more in person. And no, none of this is edited with Photoshop or anything else. The water truly is that blue because of the minerals that the water and snow brings its way down after snowy and rainy seasons. So explain to me about... No, just explain to me about your tattoo, man. That's awesome. Okay. Where did you get it and everything?
So this tattoo I got like a couple of years ago in Thailand, in Pai. It was like, I want to do one tattoo like on the traditional way, like with the bamboo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found a place and it takes like 3 hours and it hurts more than with the machine.
I can imagine. That's awesome. I want to get one like that in the near future. Let's see, let's make it happen.
So after having this really nice conversation with Dennis, a friend of ours from Denmark, we made our way to Cusco. And just to keep you guys, on track of places to stay, I would really recommend, if you're in your 20s, 30s, or even 40s, find a hostel. It's great, for you to make friends. Though Dennis was just one of the many friends that we made along this trip itself. So now Cusco is the place to be. Cusco has a huge historical significance to Peru and its culture. Its history spans over 3,000 years, with evidence of human habitation dating back to the Kilki culture around 900 AD. It also rose to prominence as the capital of the Inca Empire from the 13th to the 16th centuries. Following then the Spanish conquest in the 1530s, the city underwent significant transformation, blending Inca and colonial Spanish architectural styles. And also notably, the Quittincancha Temple of the Sun, once the richest temple in the Inca Empire, was repurposed into the convent of Santo Domingo by the Spanish. In 1983, Cusco was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its exceptional culture and also architectural heritage. So at night, there's quite a lot to do. Most of the stores are all open. All of the museums will only be open until 6 or 7, depending on the time of the year that you go. And also all of the culinary, really good restaurants, are present in Cusco. At night, as you can see, it's really well lit, with especially yellow tone of lights for the city itself, which really gives it a charm. And apart from that, there's also a lot of little festivities and parties that you can go into, especially if you're from abroad. We saw that there's a huge reception rate in terms of, the local hosts actually getting you into the parties. Everybody's always inviting you and, calling you into the parties. And Cusco is also a really safe place to be. We didn't notice any threats or thieves or anything. Also, as you can see, the city really depends on its tourism. The streets are constantly flooded by tourists and people that get to know the city, which is actually interesting because it's not just people from abroad, as you also have a lot of people from other parts of Peru that end up visiting Cusco itself because of its heritage and importance. You'll also notice that Cusco is the place where you're gonna basically connect most of your trips, and for logistics purposes, it's really good as you go to Aguascalientes and then basically back. We'll get to that in a little bit, to go to Machu Picchu, and also all the other little cities around. So you can do small trips inside the city, or basically package tours around. So that really helps. When we arrived in Cusco, we actually met a guy that was basically trying to sell to every single tourist that you can find. I thought it was a bit sketchy at first, but then as we talked to him and everything, we even asked some police officers for recommendations and stuff. And like I said, Peru is heavily militarized at this point because of political reasons and whatnot. So we didn't have any problems at all. Everybody seems to be, very trustworthy, but of course, you're going to want to pay attention to that. You never know what the world is holding, right? So that's pretty much it. But like I said, it's a really safe place to be. We didn't have any problems whatsoever. Actually, by the contrary, I would say that most people wanted to help, and everyone was really, had a mindset towards approaching tourists and foreigners because they really want to help, because that's basically what makes the city thrive. And they have so many people throughout the year. So on this part of the tour, we're going to get to a wall that's really important to Cusco. It's one of the walls that they actually have from the Incan Empire that was constructed by them at the time. And it's really interesting because it was constructed through Incan architecture and also technology, which was much better than Spanish technology for the time of construction. And these walls were able to protect them from the constant earthquakes that Peru and region goes through throughout the years.
Amigos, hoy estoy con mi amigo Lisman y él va a enseñar un poco sobre pisco.
Pisco. Nuestra bebida el pisco es nuestra bebida nacional, nuestra bebida bandera, que más que todo su elaboración es a base de la uva. Tenemos 8 variedades de pisco, en las cuales hay unas variedades, por ejemplo, tenemos de la cepa quebranta, tenemos cepa mollar, Italia, moscatel, torontel. Y a base del pisco tenemos un cóctel que es muy bueno también, que es el pisco sour, que es muy bueno. Tenemos que todo que lleva un poquito de pisco, lleva limón, lleva jarabe de goma y un poquito de clara de huevo. Y se bate batido. Y se le pone amargo de angostura para que aromatice un poquito el aroma. Es nuestra bebida bandera, el pisco.
Sí, y es muy bueno, muy bueno. Y también maracujá sour.
Maracuyá sour.
Maracuyá sour.
Solamente se reemplaza el limón por el maracuyá.
Sí.
Y hay macerados a base del pisco con hoja de coca, hoja de niña, un poquito de todo.
Es muy bueno.
Muy bueno.
Y nosotros aguardamos a usted en nuestro país, en Brasil.
Cuando quiera, con usted.
Ah, sí. Y va a
¿Tiene
ser.
la oportunidad?
Vámonos a hacer una caipirinha para usted. Gente, Beatriz tá até chorando.
Gente, eles
Os
estão
caras
vendendo
tocaram aqui.
CD.
Não. E você tem onde tocar o CD, Beatriz?
Não, mas é pra ajudar eles.
Aí você quer comprar o CD dele. Aí você tá chorando também. Você tá emocionado?
Eu tô emocionada. Gente, quanto que é o CD? É muito fofinho.
Você vai levar o CD pra quem, Beatriz?
Minha avó, ela deve ter um rádio que toca CD. É uma boa.
É uma boa, mas sua avó não vai entender os caras.
Gente, é sério, minha avó tem um rádio que toca CD.
So, continuing our trip through the Incan Empire, we went on the Incan Trail, which is basically a package tour that you can buy, and you get to go around various places where the Incans actually inhabited at that time. And here's me actually trying to get through some llamas, and I actually thought this one was going to spit at me or something. Yeah, thankfully it didn't, and the llamas are pretty much really used to having a lot of people around. Alright, so no more playing around. Now let's go to Aguas Calientes. This is where the highlight of our trip happens. Aguas Calientes is basically the city that connects you from Cusco to Machu Picchu. Aguas Calientes is surrounded by a lush cloud forest and steep Andean peaks. Aguas Calientes offers several attractions to visitors, such as hot springs for the town's Namisaki. These natural thermal baths are situated near the Vilcanado River and are believed to have therapeutic properties. There's also this little fence on the bridge that they try to portray as the one that's in Paris, and basically people put the locks with, their boyfriend or girlfriend's names. You'll also find various markets around Peru, and these markets usually sell things such as ponchos, little llamas with llama wool, and other things like that, which are, more tourist souvenirs. And also, this was the place where B and I did get our ponchos, and you'll find all different colors, sizes, and prices. So after we got everything ready, we had our ponchos in hand, we made our way to Machu Picchu itself. So basically, there's two ways to make it to Machu Picchu. Some people do the trail that goes through the hydroelectric park, which people say is really nice, but it's also very time-consuming. And if you haven't, practiced or if you haven't been walking or running, you might have a hard time, as it is a couple of kilometers. So we were able to make it by bus to the top, which I truly recommend because you'll save a lot of time and you'll be able to do other things throughout the day. And also, it doesn't seem like it, but you will be actually walking a lot through Machu Picchu itself. The ticket that you get, there's actually a couple of extra hikes. So ours, if I'm not mistaken, was the D trail, as they're given as A, B, C, and D. And we actually did walk quite a lot, and you can have a whole different view at the top. Now, a couple of recommendations. Something really stupid that I did, as you can see, I was going up this, the trail that we did, which is actually 2 kilometers up, which doesn't seem like it, but again, in Peru, everything is much harder because of the altitude and whatnot. So I use jeans, and I definitely don't recommend using jeans for the trails in Machu Picchu. Also, they have what's called propina, which is kind of like a bribe or a tip that you give the guards that are on Machu Picchu. And usually if you have like 10, 20 soles or more, or less, I would just try negotiating that much, you're able to use and go to the other trails. So I would recommend, wake up really early, do the trail and everything, and you'll have plenty of time to see everything, if not even more. B and I actually didn't have any more money, cash on us, so we ended up just doing one, and to be honest, it was more than enough. You're going to be walking quite a lot on it. It doesn't seem like it, but trust me, you will, and it's absolutely fascinating. It was one of my dreams to go to Machu Picchu, and to tell you the truth, it amazed me way more than I could have imagined ever, to be honest, so I really, really loved it. It was one hell of an experience. And that was a bit of our trip to Machu Picchu. I hope you guys liked it, and like and subscribe to this video because it really will help us to get part 2 out there. And trust me, there's a lot more, not just from Peru, but also Bolivia, and a lot more funny things that happened and also tragic things that happened throughout this trip. But all in all, guys, you gotta go to Machu Picchu. It is absolutely fantastic.